We're live, but we gotta be. So we have to look at it like that, huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
How's the audio?
I have no idea, but mash it on the phone, Ronnie. The phone.
It was on.
Okay, so we're live at the moment. Give us a second. We're trying to set up a few more things. Ronnie, would we not be able to hook up the audio to this and use our same audio?
I honestly don't know.
Okay, so it's fine. We're going to play with what we have. We're going to make it work. I do need those on because we desperately need some more light. You might have to plug them up.
I think the centering of the camera
needs to be centered too.
Yeah, it was centering.
This camera, from what I can see, is good, I guess.
Yeah. Just go back out of that and go back into it. See, yeah, we definitely need those lights on. All right, cool. Let's get that one turned to on. That's much better if you can do that.
So it's a little behind.
That's much better if you do
So it's a little behind.
All right, that's fine. Just mute it. Doesn't look too bad. Forgive me, y'all. I gotta center that. I'll probably have to come up a little bit more, and then we'll have to center it a little bit that way. Oh,
You know,
y'all have got to forgive us here. We were doing a nice video, and John was telling us about his family, and all of a sudden, we had a fire
well, no, you can unplug
that took out
that one. Yeah, you can unplug that.
our laptop we were using, in which John has had an absolute kick out of watching us on video get two old guys that are a little overweight. Well,
Move so fast.
we moved pretty fast getting up and out of where we were. So, y'all, I apologize. This would be a great time to say that if you want to sponsor the show, now would be a perfect time to say you want to sponsor the show, because at this point I'm about to have to spend $700 on a laptop, because the laptop that we have pulled out is my work laptop, which with two young guys that, you know, and what does it say? If you want something to work, grab a young cat.
Yeah, right? These guys know what they're doing, but man, we created a big problem. Not we, but it just happened.
It really did. Like, this is the battery that came out of the laptop.
It went kaput.
Yeah, I don't know if you can hear Ronnie in the background. It went kaput. So we are on episode 2, episode 7, take 2.
After the fire.
After the fire.
The computer went boom.
This is Ronnie. I don't know if you can hear him in the background. After the computer went boom. He burned his hand a little bit, but he seems to be okay.
Thank God.
It was a pretty much of a shock of a lifetime.
Well, they say the cameraman can't die, and I'm the cameraman, so
I don't know if they can hear you off camera, but we would not want that. I am very happy that you are still with us. I'd never heard the cameraman can't die, but
that's a famous meme online.
But
Young people.
Exactly. What do we know, right? But yeah, so John.
So where we were, I watched it 100 times, or maybe not 100, but it was about
15.
Woo!
And every time it made me crack up, but you think it wouldn't have if someone was hurt. So rest assured, we're all good. Except not so good in the pocketbook. But
That's okay. You know what, though? Before you get started, we are real guys. And this is a real podcast. We are not wealthy guys in a studio someplace. We are guys that make a fairly decent living. And we decided that we wanted a conversation for men. And if we want a fancy studio, we'd have 3 or 4 laptops for the backup. But we're not rich guys. And so, yeah, hopefully y'all watch this. You like it. Subscribe, because now we need more money than we needed before. Go ahead, John.
well, we were at. I figured out that my biological father could be one of 2 gentlemen. A gentleman named John Salmacy, which is my first name is John, so my parents didn't give me this name. They inherited it when they rescued me from an orphanage in Chicago. And I say rescued, it was a very fine orphanage, so it was just, getting placed with the family is a big deal.
Of course, you weren't there very long.
I was there for about a year.
Okay.
So, I have no memories of it, just from a photograph. But so it could be John Salmacy, or it could be a gentleman named Paul Salmacy. Well, Paul is an older gentleman. I think he's in a nursing home. He would end up being my uncle. My father turns out to be John Salmacy. But we didn't know this at the time I was talking to Jay. We didn't know who the father was. So, because this the guy in Sweden, Sir John Teldon, he turned me on to a girl named Gina, who ends up being my half sister.
That's awesome.
So I find out that I've got this half sister. Well, this story is just so interesting because she's just 24. Well, I'm 58. How could she be my half sister?
That's a major difference.
It's a major difference. My kids are her age. I've got 8 kids, and we'll talk about family and being a good father and what that all entails and how much work it is and how rewarding it is. But I've got 6 children that are older than her.
That's amazing.
It turns out that this John Salmacy, he was with my birth mother when he was about 25, and he got married late in life. And then I think he was 60 when he had Gina. So,
oh wow,
right. So she had an older dad, and this gentleman John had just died a few years ago. So I wish I would have been able to figure this out sooner. But anyway, so it could have been Paul, could have been John. We didn't know at this time when I was talking to Jay. Gina agreed to take a DNA test, and she would, have a lot of answers. So she does that, and in the meantime, I'm trying to get in touch with Paul. Well, Paul's an older guy, 87 or something like that. I think he's in a nursing home. I call up the number I found on the internet. I get his wife on the phone, and I said, "Hey, my name's John. I think we could possibly be. Is Paul there?" No, Paul's not available. Okay, who's calling? Well, this is John Mader calling. What's this about? Well, I think I might be a relative, from years ago. Well, I don't know you, she says, and you're not my relative, so I'm going to hang up. Click. So that's dead end. So, if Paul's the father, it's going to be difficult, but he's alive. So, in the meantime, though, Gina and I are chatting, and, how could my name be his name so it turns out that he's the one that took me to the orphanage. So her name, Carol Miller, was my mother's birth name, and Carol has me, and she gives me to John. Now John's like, I'm just assuming, but John's like, what am I going to do with a baby? And so he goes over to St. Vincent's Orphanage in Chicago, and knock, 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 I've got this baby for you. And they say, okay, what's your name? And he says, my name's John Salmacy. And so they take me in, and it's Catholic, and so the nuns say, "Well, what should we call him?" And they say, "Well, a fine young man named John Salmasi dropped him off. Let's call him John."
Okay.
So that's how I get the name John.
Wow. So how are you feeling when you are starting to discover this?
It's a bit overwhelming. I've known all my life I was adopted, like I said earlier. Never put any real effort into finding, and this is kind of dropping in my lap because of this gentleman in Sweden, my first cousin.
Let's start over again, because we did have a computer go boom.
Sure. We don't know where we're at in the story.
So, to do a little recap, you were adopted by a great family called Mater.
Yeah.
You were adopted when you were about 1 year old.
Yep.
From a Catholic orphanage
yes.
in Chicago.
Oh, happy Sacred Heart Month.
You always thought you were Italian, which makes sense, because I think you could pass as Italian.
Absolutely. No one ever gave me, when I said, I'm Italian, no one ever gave me a hard time.
You start dating your girlfriend.
Yep.
Now,
about 10 years ago.
Very lovely lady.
Thank you. Shahrazad.
Shahrazad. I didn't want to mispronounce that. I barely speak English at the time.
She's got a tough name. Her whole name is Shahrazad Falahadgar Oshibi. So you try saying that 3 times fast.
Oshibi is like an awesome last name. I'm not gonna lie. And she tells you that you're not Italian.
She says, "No, you're not Italian. You're Middle Eastern." She says, "I grew up in Iran. You would fit very well right into Iran's population. You're Middle Eastern."
So you take a DNA
and
test.
I said, no. She says, "Yes, and I want you to take a DNA test, and I'll take one too, and we'll figure this out." And that's kind of what got this ball rolling, probably about 6 or 4 years ago, probably about 6 years ago. And that's then the results come back. She comes back 97% Persian. She's almost a pure breed. She's got like 3% Turkish in her. But mine come back, like I said, thought it was Italian. I'm 2% Italian.
Wow.
And I'm like 60% Middle Eastern. Or I think it was like just over 50. And that's all from the father. Because it turns out that Gina, my half sister, I've just discovered, she's 100% Middle Eastern. So her mom and dad were all from there.
Hey, you do realize the mic's going to pick up all that, right?
It's actually Assyrian. Assyrian is the ethnicity. It's an ancient ethnicity from Mesopotamian times.
Well, yeah, Assyrians was what is considered, and forgive me if I'm wrong, and historians correct me, but they're considered like the 3rd or 4th great empire.
Yeah.
They were the ones that took the 10 tribes of Israel off.
I have to, I appreciate that. I never did a lot of research. Obviously, Mesopotamian people know that. You sound like you know that. I'm not a history, a history buff, but I'd like to learn more.
Well, I went to school for biblical studies, so
you know about it.
So yeah, and I believe it's 2 Kings. God says He's finally had enough, and He sends the kingdom of Israel off with the Assyrians.
That's cool.
Yeah,
that's very cool.
So your people conquered Israel.
That's a very interesting history.
So,
yes,
the Assyrians considered a Semitic group.
I don't know.
Genetically Semitic.
I don't think so, but you're off camera, so if you want to ask a question, you got to come on camera.
Oh, I thought I could pick up my voice.
We do not have Scott here today. We have Ronnie.
And Ronnie's doing a great job. He's figuring it out as he goes, and he's a fine young man.
Yes, he is.
And we're thankful that he's here, because he really could have, something bad could have happened with that fire.
Oh, no. If Ronnie wasn't here, the fire goes boom a little bit longer.
So I'm interested to hear the history of Assyrian. I haven't really put a lot of thought or effort into it. I did see that Middle Eastern is a lot of Muslim, and especially the Salmacides, which was John and Paul. This is my dad, my birth dad, my uncle, and then Sargon Teldon, the first cousin. His mom is the sister of these two men. So the three of them immigrated to the United States from Iran. They were born in Tehran.
Okay.
And they're actually Catholic. It's a minority group. They have in Iran, it's a minority group, and they actually have one seat reserved for them for this Assyrian group in Iran on the parliament. So
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, they're largely ineffective. They only have one seat. I don't know how many seats there are, but it's a minority. But they do have a seat at the table. And obviously Iran's quite a bit of a mess. But anyway, what I found so fascinating about it is I'm first generation United States, because they immigrated in the late 50s and early 60s.
Oh, wow.
And turns out I'm with a girl who immigrated from Iran.
What is the chances, honest to God?
What's the chances, right?
Because it's not like we have a extremely high Iranian population.
No.
I mean,
especially in Tallahassee.
Yeah, I think I have met 3 people,
a handful at the most,
my entire life, and most of them were working at Florida State that was from Iran. So the chances of that are
astronomical.
Because I mean, you think about it. If she would not have challenged you on what you were, and being a man, I mean, you got challenged. You're like, hey, look, let's go with it.
Yeah.
I mean,
I was not really too excited about doing a DNA test, but you're right. Once you get challenged, it's like, all right, let's figure it out.
Yeah, let's do this thing now. And then you find out that she's right, which can be good or bad when you tell a woman they're right.
Oh, she doesn't forget it. She loves being right.
But then you track down your birth mom first, right?
Yeah. Birth mom first. And that's a bit of a story. She, Carol Miller is her name, and she passed away in 2003, quite a while ago. She was young. She was only in her mid-50s. But turns out I always had this thought, some idyllic thought, and I think my parents, Tom and Ray Mater, I think they kind of fed me into it. But it was that, she went to a Catholic school. She was a senior. She was pregnant, unplanned, of course. Graduates in May or June. Now she starts to show. She takes, because I was born in late August, so she has me in late August. Places me with up for adoption, and goes on with her life. That's just kind of what I thought.
Which in the 50s and 60s
makes sense,
and honestly gives you and her a chance at a better life, because
sure.
A woman in the 60s that had a kid out of wedlock,
difficult.
Yeah, I mean, very difficult.
So that's what I thought happened, Jay. That's made the most sense. As a matter of fact, I have an advertising degree from Florida State, and one of the classes was public speaking, and you had to give these speeches regularly. One of the speeches I did was on an unsung hero, because abortion is not. I'm totally against abortion. I would never encourage anyone.
No, I'm with you.
But I did my speech on my birth mother as an unsung hero, so that what she did was courageous, and she could have had an abortion. And I was saying, hey, this woman's a hero to me. She, gave me a great opportunity. But anyway, so I did this speech on unsung hero was her. Well, it turns out, so all that is not it. All that I just went through is all incorrect.
Oh, wow.
Turns out Carol Miller was about 25 when she got pregnant with me. She had 3 other children before me. I'm the youngest of her 4 children. So the first one is a guy named Greg Finch. And she has Greg, and she's raising Greg at the beginning. And then she has a girl named Pam. Well, Pam had cerebral palsy or something, and so she decides she can't take care of Greg. She puts him in foster care, and that's how he ends up as Greg Finch.
Okay.
So
okay.
I don't know the exact circumstances, but how do you put your kid up into foster care? I don't know.
I don't know either. I mean, Lord knows I fought tooth and nail for the one that's eating
Yeah.
cheese and crackers off camera.
Crunching.
Good.
but so she puts him up for foster care. Now she's raising Pam. She has another daughter, all with the same man. So 3 children with the same man, a guy named Sal. Then and she puts Renee up for adoption. So Renee goes into the adoption system. So then she must have some sort of relationship with John Salmazi. She meets John, and she gets pregnant, and she gives me to John. She says, "Here, I just had this baby. You take him. I can't take care of him." He doesn't know what to do. He goes to the St. Vincent's Orphanage and places me there. Did me a huge favor. So basically, I did the speech on the wrong person. I should have done it on the dad, although the mom made a great decision too. But the dad is the one that had the courage to bring me in and put me into the.
That is wow, that's a crazy story. So you are the oldest of your dad's known children that
Yes.
you've been able to find.
Yes. Oh, definitely.
And the youngest
Of hers.
of your mom's known children.
Yeah. That's the story.
Now, you get in touch with the oldest guy, the Finch guy, right?
The Finch guy. I get in touch with him through a half niece. So that half niece is on the mother's side.
Okay.
And that half niece was Renee's. Now Renee was the third child that Carol had, and she put Renee up for adoption. So Carol put Renee up for adoption. Renee has, her name is Monica something, Monica Valdez or something like this, is my half niece. I reach out to her right away when I figured this out, 4 or 5 years ago, whatever it was. Nothing ever came of it. Then my son joins Ancestry, and she reaches out to him and realizes that he's my son, and she gives him Greg Finch's phone number. Her that would be her uncle. Right.
Now,
I think
so
her half uncle.
at this point, they've gotten in touch with each other.
Greg and Monica were friendly. I mean, they weren't friends, but they knew one another.
Okay.
So I call up Greg, and Greg gives me 2 or 3 hours on the phone one night and just fills me in on everything on the mother's side. And this turns out, that's how I find out that I'm the young. He says, "I always knew about you. I reconnected with Carol Miller. She put me in foster care, but I reconnected with her when I was a teenager, and I actually lived with her for a few years when I was in 19 or 20. And she always spoke about you, and she spoke highly. She just wondered whatever became of you, and she never gave me any information on your father." This is what this Greg Finch is telling me. But he's also telling me stories of, Carol. She was a hard worker. She worked for National Cash Register Company in Chicago for 30 years. So he was proud of her. He was disappointed that he went into foster care. He didn't fully understand that story. But anyway, he accepted it, and he was happy with the Finches. He, took their name and everything. So he told me that, hey, gave me a little history of the health issues. She died young. I think I told you she died at like 56.
She did, yeah. You told me that, but
I think
you told me she was like a chain smoker or something, which is pretty common back then.
Yeah, she was a smoker, and she had diabetes in some way, and I can't remember how he said she died. It might have been a brain hemorrhage. I just don't remember. It wasn't like an accident or anything like that. And also, Greg Finch says, hey, the first and only time all 3 siblings, now I wasn't included, so I would have been the 4th, but all 3 siblings were together was at her funeral.
Oh, man.
So that was the first and only time in 2003. And in 2003, I'm like, having kids. And
No. Now, are you planning on meeting up
with Greg? Yeah, I'd like to meet Greg. He's in Chicago, and he's a short haul big rig driver. Never married, no kids. Nice guy. and he's not. He did send me a picture of Carol Miller, so I never had seen my birth mother, and it was nice to see her, a picture of her.
Now, what was she?
She was like a little bit of Middle Eastern, like very small amount, but a little Swedish. She was a lot German. She was a handful of stuff. Nice, pretty lady, but nothing unique about her ethnicities. But there were a few mixed in there, maybe 4 or 5.
Okay.
So from that point, I had this nice conversation with Greg, and yeah, I'd like to meet him. And it turns out Gina Salmasi, now we switched to the father's side. Gina lives in Chicago as well.
Okay, now Gina is at the time that me and you originally decided to do the show.
Yeah.
You weren't sure whether Gina was your cousin or your sister, right?
Half sister or first cousin.
Okay.
Wait, yeah, first cousin. Because if I was Paul's child,
yeah,
then she would be a cousin because Paul's brother's daughter is my cousin. Well, then she does I reach out to her on Facebook because the guy from Sweden, Sargon Telden, is my first cousin, and his mother is my father's sister.
Okay.
So Sargon tells me, hey, Gina might be able to help you. Gina Salmasi, she's on Facebook. So I sent her a message on Facebook, and I probably was a little too direct. And she was, she didn't know. I've always known I'm adopted. There's no big surprise. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I got someone out there. I know she's a relative of some way. Now, she hasn't done a DNA test. So she doesn't, know. And so I send her this message, and she's like, well, how do you know this? And I said, well, your first cousin is Sargon Telden, and he is my first cousin as well. So there's and it's all on the mother's side, which you're related to him on his mother's side. So we're related. And now she's interested. She's only 24, but she graduated from Loyola in Chicago, and she's a smart girl.
It's an excellent school.
Yeah, excellent school. Very smart girl. She's some kind of scientist, and so she understands DNA. She wasn't that excited about doing it until she started hearing about, hey, I'm very intrigued with John Mater. This is an interesting story. How am I related to him? And sure enough, she then takes the test, and there was a little ambiguity on the test. Ancestry is not perfect.
No.
And they placed her as my full niece or half sister. Full niece or half sister. So I shared 25% DNA with her.
Okay, yeah, which is what you normally share with a half sibling.
Right.
Half sibling, yeah.
Right. So or a full niece.
A full niece. Yeah.
Well, I knew I couldn't be her full niece.
Yeah.
Because I know my mother. I'd have to be full brothers with John Salmasi, her dad. Full brothers. Yeah. So that means same mom, same dad. Well, I knew I didn't have the same mom as John Salmasi.
Yeah.
So now we know. Well, I figured this all out just to be double. I put all this information into ChatGPT. And we all know, ChatGPT is pretty amazing.
Hey, look, I love ChatGPT.
It's amazing.
I use it all the time. The flyer that we made for the show, was ChatGPT. ChatGPT. In fact, I asked the book I'm reading right now. ChatGPT recommended it, so
That's cool.
I'm with you 100%.
So I've got all these DNA relationships with. Now we're just talking about the father's side. And because my son did Ancestry, he shared DNA with Gina. He shared DNA with Sargon Telden, and so I put these figures into ChatGPT, and I said, and Gina cannot be my half. She cannot be my full niece.
Yeah, no, it's impossible.
So I put that into ChatGPT, so they triangulate it and they figure out, hey, this is your half sister. So then I, tell her, I think Ancestry has this wrong, that it's not, you can't be my full niece, which she understood as well. And sure enough, she, you look at her photographs and they look a lot like my children. And,
100%. You've shown them to me.
Yeah.
And if we were better at technology, we'd show you, but we're not. So
Right. But it's an uncanny. She looks a lot like my daughter Jamie, which is my youngest daughter. She's 21. This girl is 24. It's just kind of so interesting. That's her. It turns out, Jamie, my daughter, is got an aunt that's just 3 years older than her. But also, I've got 6 other kids that are older than Gina. So she wasn't even alive yet, and she was already an aunt. So anyway, Gina is she's in Chicago, and she's interested in getting together and just maybe have a bite to eat and figure it out. She's got an older brother now.
Yeah, well, I mean, I was about to say, if you grew up with siblings,
Yeah,
that you're still pretty close to, I take it.
I've got 3 older sisters. My sisters are in their 70s, so I was quite a bit younger than them. I actually don't remember living with my sisters because they were, moving out before my real first memories.
But I mean, you still have a relationship.
Absolutely. I'm in business with my oldest sister's youngest child. I have a business with him in Clearwater. And then we get together at Christmas, whatever. I mean, they're all over the country, but we do get together and have very nice relationships.
So that's what I'm saying. I mean, you grew up.
I grew up well loved
with family.
Yes.
She grew up with obviously an older dad. I don't know how old her mom is.
Her mom had to be baby making age, right? When he was 60, she had to be 40.
At least, 40 or below. I mean, we're talking about 24 years ago.
Yeah. She probably could have might have only been 35 when she had her. Who knows?
So you're dealing with a woman who has never really had close family and now finds out
she's got an older brother.
She's got an older brother. I mean, that's got to probably be pretty exciting for her to go from
nothing.
She's got a couple of cousins, but one's in Sweden.
Yeah, she doesn't have much of a relationship, but she knows who he is. Yeah, and then Paul's married to this woman that didn't give me the time of day. But they don't have any kids.
So her aunt,
she
doesn't have a great relationship with.
No, because she's in Sweden.
Well, the aunt's here in California, right?
That's the uncle.
Yeah.
The uncle is married to a woman, so that is her aunt.
Yeah, okay. So she's got an aunt and uncle. Well, you have an aunt and uncle in California, which we don't know her story. We don't know her backstory. So you might be one of many people that pop up and she's tired of dealing with it. Which is possible.
That is possible.
Or she might just not be that nice of a person, which is also possible. So, I mean, she's probably, I'm trying to put myself in her shoes.
In Gina's?
Yeah. And if I'm Gina, I'm probably ecstatic.
Yeah, she's she was very interested in hearing about my kids. And she, they're her age, around her age. Obviously, I'm much older, but my kids are really right in her ballpark. Mm-hmm. And so she was interested in seeing pictures of my kids and hearing about my kids. I told you, Jay, I've got a son. And, now we kind of come full circle. I've got my own family. And you talk about fathers and being a good father. I've got 8 kids, but this one particular son, he just graduated from West Point.
I know that was, okay. So we'll get into the story a little bit about you. You have 6 kids, right? 8 kids. You're married, you're living, fairly upper middle class.
Yeah. We had a great, doing very well at this point in time.
Then the wife and we, in fact, I've only had 2 people on the show. 3 people on the show so far that weren't divorced. One had never been married.
Can't get divorced.
Can't get divorced if you haven't been married. One, Sam, him and his wife went through a lot of stuff, but they're still together. And then Scott, by the grace of God, him and Ashley are still together. And seem to be doing good for the most part.
Good.
But divorce is unfortunately something that we as guys have had to learn to deal with.
I hate divorce.
I hate divorce too. And 90% of divorces in this country are started by women.
I've heard that too.
Because I've learned over the years that guys we will stay in a relationship that's not good because we made a commitment. And plus, the average guy doesn't like change.
I also think that good men, they want to make it work, and they know it's best for the family to stay together.
Absolutely.
I was shocked when my ex-wife, wanted a divorce. I didn't even know we were unhappy.
Well, and I find that happens to a lot of guys. And me and you have talked in detail about your divorce and the surroundings of it. So if whatever part you want to leave out and don't want to talk
Sure.
about, feel free and stop me. But I know that y'all were going to church.
Yeah.
And the pastor of y'all's church at the time told her she needed to stay there and fix the marriage. So she goes to another church.
That's exactly what happened. You got a good memory.
Which I appreciate that. It's one of the few things I got going for me. But she jumps ship. She goes to another church, which I hate church hopping. Church hopping is, as a guy that was a former pastor, I can't stand church hopping, and I can't stand weak pastors that allow people to church hop during a rough time in their life when they need the leadership. Because I'm of the opinion that your pastor is a magistrate in your life. Like, he's your spiritual leader. You commit to him, and that he is almost like a minor judge in your life type of thing. And as long as he's not telling you to do anything ungodly, then you should follow him. And so she jumps chips to this very prominent church that likes money, to a pastor that should be backhanded. I mean, honestly, he should be taken out. And I'll look straight in the camera and say that he should be taken out and honestly beaten and taught that he's not a man of God. And I'll say that openly.
I'll tell you, he comes up with a reason for divorce that made no sense, and it was called covenant neglect. And that is not a biblical answer for divorce or biblical reason for divorce.
What did he call covenant neglect?
Covenant neglect was what he claimed was the biblical grounds for a divorce, for her to act, because there was no infidelity. There was no, I never raised a hand to her. I went to work every day.
So what's covenant neglect? Did he even explain it to you?
No, I heard it. I saw a letter that he wrote, and that's what he put in there, covenant neglect. And I guess what he's referring to is that I neglected the covenant of marriage, and that was grounds for divorce.
Ronnie or Jaden, one of y'all off screen, look up covenant neglect for me, please. Because you have me curious with that one. Because there is one, as far as I know, there's one major grounds for divorce. Infidelity. You found it?
Yeah, it sounds kind of gay, but it says occurs when a party fails to uphold binding promises in a legal contract, property deed, or loan agreement, leading to potential legal action, financial penalties, or injunctions.
So
it actually has to do more with contracts than marriage.
So according to Ronnie off screen, and I'm going to repeat it because we can't hear. I don't know if you can hear him quite well. He's pulled it up, and it's basically dealing with a legal contract stating that you want upholding your end of the contract. So you went to work every day.
Yeah.
You made a living. She was a stay-at-home wife and mother. She homeschooled the kids.
She did a good job, as best as she could.
John, I have to tell you something, too, as we get into this story. You do what a lot of men do, and I applaud you for it. You protect her a lot in this.
I don't want to beat her up. She is the mother of my kids.
And I find that a lot with guys. But so
she did the family wrong. There's no doubt about that. It was a very bad decision. It takes two to get married. It only takes one to get a divorce. I fought like hell to not get a divorce. and kept, I wouldn't say begging, but I was willing to do pretty much anything that she wanted to try to work this out. I got 8 kids. Okay. I mean, I'm not,
And the kids were young.
the kids were young. I had out of 8, 1 was over 8, 1 was 19, 1 was 17, you know, and then all the way down to 3 years old. Well, divorce is just, I'm happy to talk about divorce. I hate it so much that I'd never give out the name of a divorce lawyer. I liked my divorce lawyer. He did a great job for me, but I don't feel good recommending someone get a divorce.
No, and I actually applied Kentucky. I don't know if you're familiar with Kentucky, but Kentucky actually has the lowest divorce rate.
They probably
in
make it
America.
hard to get a divorce.
Oh, well, actually, what they did, and it was at 26%. In
That's
6
low.
months, they dropped it to 26%. They're talking about they're expecting it to drop as low as 12%.
Wow.
And what Kentucky did was Kentucky changed the entire divorce. It's automatically 50-50 custody, no child support. Alimony can only be paid for 3 months. If you own a house, the spouse that gets the house has to pay 50% equity to the other spouse if they keep the house. If not, the house has to be sold. And then
So they made it painful.
what they
financially.
what they did, and this is what I like to say, and it's actually not me. I'd love to take credit for this, but it was actually a woman congresswoman from Kentucky who said that basically what they did was they took the incentive away from a woman to get divorced, because there are incentives for women to get divorced in the state of Florida or Georgia. You know.
Yeah. Let me just say this: my ex-wife, her reason for divorcing me, she didn't come up with covenant neglect. That was the preacher.
Girl.
Her reason was, I don't like the way you treat me, and I don't like the way you treat our children, so I'm going to divorce you. Well, when you say you don't like the way you treat me, you don't like the way I treat our children, why would you have 8 kids with me?
Well, and first of all, I've met a few of
Yeah,
your
you've met a
children,
number of my kids.
and I've never seen them say anything but good things about you.
Thank you.
And I've known you well enough to know, and those that are watching this for the first time, I'm in sales. You can't BS a sales guy. You know, I have this unique gift where I read people very quickly.
The
very
bullshit
fast.
meter.
You know, I know when people are lying to me, and you're a pretty genuine person. And besides, there's only 3 grounds biblically for divorce that can even be argued. And there's really 2 that can be argued really well. You do have infidelity. You have where if you marry a Christian, if you are married to somebody and they become a Christian, the Christian cannot leave. But the person that is not a Christian has the ability to leave, and the Christian is not held responsible for that. And then there's a third one that's recognized by most, but not all denominations, which is called abandonment. But abandonment has nothing to do with what Ronnie read, or that, hey, I don't like you this week. Abandonment is you leave
If it's
the
disappear.
household and you go bye-bye, you know? So you weren't doing any of those things. You were working hard, taking care of your family. And then all of a sudden, the grass is green on the other side, is what I like to call it. And she leaves the church that y'all were going to, which you grew up Catholic, right?
I grew up Catholic. I took her faith. She was Baptist, and so when we got married at a Baptist church. And then when we came to Tallahassee, I was just a youngster when we got married. I was 21, and we came to Tallahassee for me to go to college and finish college. And we found a church that was Assemblies of God, and I like that church.
Okay, and it sounds like the pastor was doing his job.
Yeah, and then she didn't like what he had to say,
and so she skips church. She goes to another church with. Would I be bad to call the church's name out on here?
I don't think we should.
Okay, but not a big fan of the pastor. I've heard other horror stories from him. comes up with covenant neglect, which is complete BS, by the way.
He wanted some money from my ex-wife was in line to inherit quite a bit of money. She has a family business that makes eyelets where you put your shoelaces through.
Oh,
Yeah, that's her family business. It was founded in 1852, and I mean that was before the Civil War, and so her grandfather, my ex-wife's grandfather, was still alive, but he was ailing. He was an old guy, and he had told her that she's going to inherit a ninth of what he had. So that turns out to be quite a bit of money, and so I'm guessing that I don't know whether she started, making promises to this other church. I really don't know. But she church hops and, she gets the green light, dump him. And of course, I don't know, but I'm assuming that she made a nice donation there. I just don't know.
no, it would make sense, given the state of churches nowadays. Yeah. So then you get divorced.
Yeah. Oh, so yeah, don't like the way you treat me. Don't like the way you treat our kids. Well, I'm not going anywhere. Now, I had thought about, maybe I'm not such a great dad. Maybe I'm doing some stuff. But I decided, you know what? I'm changing my life. I'm not going to chase money so hard. I'm going to raise my kids the best that I can. Now, she's homeschooling at this point. I said, as much as I'd like the homeschooling, this isn't going to work.
Not in two separate households.
Not in two separate households. I'm not dropping them off at your house. We're going to have an independent teacher, so we enrolled them in school. Okay. She didn't want to. A judge told us they have to go to conventional school. So she was devastated. That's strike one that all of a sudden she didn't think was coming. So then I get the kids 50-50. Well, if you don't like the way I treat them, now I've got them 50-50. When we were married, she probably did 85% of the parenting because I worked.
Of course, you had to feed 10
people. Right. And this woman, she liked to hire tutors. She liked to put them in karate lessons, tennis lessons, ballet lessons, piano lessons, have, like I said, tutors. She probably had 2 or 3 tutors. She was well organized, but she didn't do homeschooling cheap. We'd go to the homeschooling conference every year in Orlando, and that was at the Gaylord Palms, and that's, a very expensive trip.
Place.
Right. And you got, there's 10 of us going. So anyway, she didn't expect all this. She didn't, if you're dumping me, and that's to your point with the Kentucky thing, 50-50 right off the bat. Okay. Well, now if you don't like the way he parents, now you've got zero control half the time. Mm-hmm. Because I promise you, my ex-wife, she tried to control me and how I parented when I had the kids. And that ain't flying. No, I leave my house. No offense, but I leave my house.
Yeah, no, and as you should as a man. It's your God-given duty.
I agree.
To lead your household.
I agree.
So now, your son who graduated from West Point.
Yes.
My understanding is after the divorce takes place, there are certain daughters that I guess decide they want to stay with mom.
We had some splits going on. There was some gravitation to the mother on some girl sides and some gravitation to the dad, to me, on the boy side. However, right now, I've been raising my youngest daughter 100% by myself. She's 21. She's not a child, but she does live at my house and doesn't visit her mother very often, and she's been doing that for quite some time. My ex-wife made a big mistake when she dumped me. She's got involved with a younger man. So she was in her early 40s, and she starts dating a man that's like 21.
What?
Or 20, I think. He might have been 21. And she ends up marrying him, and my boys did not like that one bit.
And you can't blame them.
Right. And so they gravitated to my house, especially the youngest son who just graduated from West Point.
Now, from my understanding with the West Point thing, correct me if I'm wrong, she basically disowned him, didn't she?
She did disown him. She would he like I said came to my house, and then she stopped inviting him for Christmas, for birthday celebration. So all these kids would have birthdays, and she'd have birthday parties, and he's not invited. And 7 others are invited. 7 others invited to her wedding. 7 others, are invited Christmas, Thanksgiving, whatever the holiday is. But mini vacations she'd take him on. Whatever she's doing, she's inviting 7 kids, not him. Well, that's abuse, Jay.
It is abuse.
That's mental abuse. It's actually worse than physical abuse, in my opinion. But I'm no expert.
No, I would say emotional abuse. It is probably harder to swallow because it's not as treatable.
Yeah.
As physical abuse. Physical abuse, and forgive me, I've never been any of it. I grew up in a fairly stable, lower middle class, household
With love.
with love. Maybe a little bit too much at times. My mom was a little protective. My dad was a little bit like, boys are going to be boys. So, we kind of had that split down the middle. But it just seems to me like physical abuse you can get over. But emotional abuse kind of sticks with
It
you.
stays with you. It's deep seated.
Makes you question yourself, not the craziness of the person that hit me, but am I that bad that you don't want anything to do with me? So I'm sure that
Affected him.
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely. He's an overcomer, and I believe, as far as parenting and punishment, and we're talking about being a father and families and whatnot. I wouldn't say main, but a tenet in my parenting style is natural and logical consequences. So if you go to the Circle K as a 11-year-old and get caught stealing a candy bar, whatever the case is, what's the natural and logical consequence to the child? Whatever it is, you're banned from the Circle K. You're less trusted because you've now proven yourself, or you've gone down this path of stealing. I think out of boys, I'd probably say 70% of boys have done something like that at that age, just
see if they get away with it.
Just to see, who knows why they didn't have enough change, whatever the case is. But then they realize, I don't want to be known as untrustworthy.
Absolutely.
I want my dad, specifically their dad, I want my dad to trust me.
Mm-hmm.
I want my dad to be to have loyalty to me, to show, and that stealing from Circle K doesn't lead to that. It leads to, I can't let you go into a Circle K by yourself anymore, because that's the natural consequence. You can't be stealing from Circle K, so you've got to stay out of these stores unless you're supervised by me. So natural and logical consequences, I think, are a big deal in parenting. Now, my ex-wife wants to rescue them. Rescue them just prolongs this behavior. So if they get caught cheating at school, and the teacher says he was copying his next door, his person next door's paper, the ex-wife would say, "No, he wasn't. You can't prove that."
Well, okay,
but yet the teacher's just picking on him. I don't think so.
So we're gonna take a short break. We're gonna come back. This is a great time. If you haven't checked out Greg's book, we normally have it with us. Forgive me with all the technical difficulties. It's Father to Father and Brother to Brother. You can find it on Amazon. If you would go to Carter's Corner, is the guy we had on last week. Great guy. We will continue the conversation with John as we come back through all of our technical difficulties. Ronnie, if you want to pause the other one, we will take a short break. Okay, it's Greg, as John, so used to Greg Robinson being with us. Welcome back.
Thank you.
He's going to light himself another cigar. A CAO surplus. Is not a bad stick. JD, shout out to JD, actually loves the Maduro ones of them. Hit the like, subscribe button. Follow us. That's how we get known. That's how people see us. Feel free to comment wherever you are. So we were talking about your son for a second, that your wife decided to just
Basically because he was with me 100% of the time, and really didn't like her relationship with the young guy who was bossing him around. And he's just, you're not going to boss me around. You're my brother's age, for goodness sakes. And so he chose to stay with me, enjoyed his time with me. I'm not saying that's right or wrong, but that's what happened. I do think it does take a mom and a dad. However, you said that something like 90% of divorces are initiated by women. There is another interesting statistic about raising kids, and this one has to do with two-parent households.
I know exactly where you're going.
Single fathers or single mothers. Which one statistically works out best for the child? And the answer is
Single father.
And two-parent households.
Yeah,
they're about equal.
It's crazy.
But single mothers way on the bottom.
Well, it's actually crazy. It's if you're raised by a two-parent household where the dad is involved in the family, you've got like a 80-85% chance to never do any major jail time. Doesn't mean you're not going to be young, stupid, and get put in handcuffs.
Sure.
Because let's face it, we're guys. Most of us have been put in handcuffs at least once or twice in our lives for something stupid.
Right. You're going to learn. You're going to learn.
You're going to learn the hard way. A single father household is actually only about 3% lower than a two-parent household. While if you're raised by a single mother, you have a 60 to 65% likelihood of winding up in jail and doing actual jail time or becoming a single mother. And here's another statistic that nobody wants to talk about. Single mothers raise more gay men than any other household.
Two-parent or single father.
Yeah. So, I know I'm going to get some kickback on YouTube for that, but it is the truth. Because a father is not only the provider, it's the protector of the household. And you said something very interesting that gets very dear to my heart about the father wanting to trust, you wanting your father to trust you. I've been very open about my background on the show. I went to school to be a minister. Married a woman I probably should not have. Her father disagreed with us getting married, and I did it anyway. And found myself 3 years later getting a divorce. And went into a very dark place afterwards. Became a bit of a, chasing women I shouldn't. Lying, drinking, the whole 9 yards. And moved back in with my dad because I'd become an absolute complete failure in life. And my dad, after about 5 years of that, kicks me out of his house. Because he didn't know what to do at that point. At that point, it's like he's enabling me. So the only thing he can do is force me to go and be a man again. Hey, look, I'm either going to, stay a bum the rest of my life, or eventually, something's going to kick in and I'm going to become a man I used to be. And Scott, who is normally our producer, had hit me up to start an insurance agency, which is what I'd done before. And I finally agreed, but I found myself carless, homeless, and no money. And I stayed at his house for a couple of weeks. I would sleep at a friend's office that had a used car dealership, and I'd been a finance manager before. So
That's night security.
it was nice security. So shout out to John. John would let me stay in his office. In return, I would look over all of his books and make sure that all the deals were handled the way they were supposed to. And he would shoot me, some food money here or there. And Scott made an agreement with me. He said the first little bit of money we made, we'd buy a car for me. We'd get me a car. Second little bit of money we made would get me an apartment. And Scott was a man of his word. And he did what he said he was going to do. And then about 6 months into it, I will never forget, Scott looks at me and I had said something, and Scott's like, Jay, we both know that's not true.
He called you out.
He called me out on the carpet. Now we're talking about,
That's a good friend.
we're talking about 10 years ago. That's how long we've been business partners. And he's like, dude, come on now. And I had to face myself in the mirror for the first time. Like, seriously, look at who I was, what I was about.
Do I like what I'm becoming?
And I didn't. And about 3 years after that, I get really, really drunk one night. And I'd already started, going up a little bit more towards where I needed to be, and, refinding myself and getting back in church and all that stuff. And I got really, really drunk. I always throw an election party, like every year that we have an election. It's a lot of fun. I'll have some Democrats, some Republicans, some people like myself that's independent. And that night, Scott was the only one that showed up. For some reason, just everybody else canceled, which is rare. And we finished a bottle of Sailor Jerry together.
So you had way too much to drink.
Way too much. And I didn't throw up. So my body digested it over like 2 days. And now, by the grace of God, and I actually say it's by the grace of God, I can only have one, maybe two drinks at one setting. By the time I get almost finished with that second drink,
You know it's time to quit.
my body starts getting really sick. Like, just my body's like, no. Which is why you hardly ever see me drink. I do enjoy a good glass of scotch, and on a hot day, I like a good cold beer. But that's about it. Like, I'm not overindulging. But I had to walk myself back from where I was. And it was a long, hard walk because, I had spent some time not being the most honest person in the world, chasing the quick dollar, which never comes. And so I understand now, my dad lived long enough to rebuild all the relationship and for him to see me actually succeed, which was good, and it's funny because when I had to make a move for Ronnie to come up to Thomasville,
From Crawfordville.
Tallahassee,
From Tallahassee.
I actually moved in with them for about 6 months, but it was completely different. Move-in this time, I helped them redo their kitchen. I took Dad out to eat more than he took me out to eat. It wasn't the bum that had left,
Right.
6 years ago. It was hey, I'm just waiting on a place to live to open up. So I think you're completely right in that one. I think you are with the, a man wants his father's respect. If his father has been a respectful guy. And so I agree with you on that one. And I think that's important. And I think that's honestly more important then, and not to downplay mothers, I have a great mother,
Of course, mothers
Whom
are
I
very
love.
important.
but only a father can make
A father's love, man.
it really is. It's extremely important. And we live in a society today where it gets downplayed. And they tell us that man on is important,
No, that's not true.
but it's not.
It's not true. Men, fathers, in general, fathers give a child what they need.
Mhm.
A mother gives them what they want.
No, I agree with that completely. And I think that, and it's something we talk about a lot on this show, is that it's a father's duty to take care of their kids, regardless of the circumstance. And so you are left now divorced with 8 kids.
Well, 7 minors, and I owned a couple of Ashley furniture stores in Montgomery, Alabama, and I was at a crossroad because now I'm getting a divorce and I want my kids, and I'm not moving them to Alabama because my ex-wife's not going to go with that, and I was splitting my time between Alabama and Tallahassee, and I had a manager at the store, so it wasn't like I was doing daily. I'm a business owner, but I'm, it's not, you got to be present. But anyway, I sold those stores and planted myself or replanted myself, whatever, at a home in Tallahassee. And that's when she was very mad at me. So she fought like hell to try to get me away from these kids, and wasted a lot of time of mine, wasted a lot of time, a lot of money of ours, hers, mine, all this money went down the drain, and she fought with me for a long time and never won. And she kept doing it and kept doing it. And I was always on the defensive, but even the kids knew. And we weren't talking to the kids about what was happening, but they just figured it out. Dad won again at court. Dad won again at court. Dad won again at court. Well, you know what? The court is not, they might make mistakes, but they don't make mistakes every single time.
No, and especially in the dad's favor, because
Right.
they're
programmed for the mom.
Yeah, my divorce, the judge in my divorce, to this day, me and him won't speak in public. And I got 50-50 custody. But to this day, we won't speak because I went off on him in the courtroom. Almost got contempt of court. So I get it. No, completely.
So this boy, Jack, the one that just graduated from West Point, he's staying with me. He's, basically not included in anything the mother's doing with the kids or anything with the mother. She's basically disowned him. And he gets into West Point. He joins the Army out of high school. He didn't want to go to college. And she, doesn't have anything to do with that. And then he goes over to Afghanistan and serves over there for a number of months and calls me and he's like, I think I want to be an officer in the military, in the Army, Dad. I said, that's a very high calling. If you want to be an officer in the Army, I support it 100%. Why don't you see if West Point will take you? So he applies to West Point, and sure enough, they take him. So my ex-wife doesn't believe it. I mean, all the kids are talking about it, his brothers and sisters. Jack got accepted into West Point, and it's no easy feat to get accepted into West Point.
No, and especially not the way. In fact, I only knew when you told me that he went from being an enlisted man to West Point. And correct me if I'm wrong, and please, on people watching this, tell me if I'm wrong. But the only way that they do that a lot of times is if they've seen combat.
They will do it outside of combat, but combat definitely goes on your resume.
Well, and I only know that because about 6 months ago, I watched an Audie Murphy movie about a guy who had went from a enlisted man that had fought in World War II
And he went to West Point.
And he went to West Point afterwards. That's the only reason why I knew. If I'd never seen that Audie Murphy movie, and you know me, I looked it up afterwards, and I'm like, hey, is this even possible? But even still, it's a hard feat.
He gets accepted, and he gets accepted to the prep school. So,
see, and I didn't even know there was a prep school.
Yeah. So he does his last year of enlistment at the West Point Prep School, then gets accepted into the military academy, not the prep. You know, he graduates from the prep school, just it's a 1-year program, and then gets into the West Point Academy, and then just finished his 4 years. Now, in his 4 years, God bless this young man. He was a very good athlete, but a great swimmer. He was on the high school swim team at Childs. Not competitive, but he was on the team. And he tries out for the water polo team at West Point. Makes the water polo team. Never played water polo, and ends up being very good at it. And then he also was elected class president 2 times. So his freshman year, it's a 2-year term. He gets elected. They wouldn't let him serve because his grades weren't good enough. Then he gets elected his junior year. They wouldn't let him serve because his grades weren't good enough. Now, he did graduate, but he wasn't the top in his class. There was 994 kids graduating. He was in the high 800s.
Well, yeah, but I mean, you know, most of these guys that go
They're
to West
brainiacs,
Point,
man.
Yeah. I mean, most of them that go straight from high school
Yeah.
are like the top of the
They're
top.
valedictorians, salutatorians. They're all great athletes. They're all in top physical condition. Yes, they're very sound young men and women. He didn't go that route out of high school, but he matured quite a bit in the Army, and
combat will do that to you.
he really got jerked around, especially the second time that he won. But he kept going. He didn't let it bother him. He's got a career in politics if he wants it, because when I was there just this past weekend, the 23rd of May, a lot of parents were coming up to me telling me, your son has a career in politics. I saw the commercials that he put together when he was running for president, and he got ripped off, and I wrote the superintendent. I heard that 3 or 4 times, that these parents were very upset about it. And that was also at a time when election integrity in the United States was something to be talking about. And so why are we doing this at West Point, not letting the top vote getter be the president? You know what I'm saying?
No.
Where's the election integrity? And so anyway, that was a thing. But his mother, he asked me, he said, should I invite mom out to the graduation? I said, of course you should. Invite your mother out here, and he was abused by his uncle too. My ex-wife's sister's husband verbally abused him, and he was a jerk too. But I said, invite Uncle Jeff. I don't care. Invite them all. You've got a lot to be proud of. Well, I guess he just invited his mom, and she came. And listen to this, Jay. This woman, she hadn't said a nice word to me in 17 years. And so after one of the events, he meets up with her privately at a rooftop bar, and maybe they had a bite to eat or something. I don't know what they did. No, they just might have had a beer or cocktail or something. Anyway, I call him, and he's being pulled in a lot of different directions, as you could imagine, graduation weekend. And his mom figures out that he's being pulled in all these directions. She says, well, why don't you go with your dad? I had nothing to do with this. So she admits she had nothing to do with him with this major accomplishment in your life. So she's figured out, I'm not patting myself on the back, Jay, but you can't do it without a strong parent, man.
No, but you should pat yourself on the back. I mean, you were left in a rough situation.
Yeah, it was brutal, man. I had never done laundry I had a homemaker. She was a good homemaker. I'd never done laundry. I wasn't a cook around the house. I didn't clean around the house. Maybe you want to call that covenant neglect, but those we had these traditional gender roles.
No, but I grew up in a household like that, where my dad didn't do laundry till after he retired, and it was him and mom, sitting around the house. So it became a bit of a different situation. So that's not covenant neglect. I mean, that's honestly gender roles.
Yeah,
that
that's
are
what I'm
important.
saying too. It's general. So yeah, it was a tough time. Those years were very tough. All of a sudden, I'm going from, chasing money, trying to support a family of 8 kids and 2 adults, which is not easy to do.
No, it's not.
And then now I have to take a step back from a career to raise kids, which is a joy of a lifetime and an honor of a lifetime to raise these kids. But at the time, it wasn't so simple. And
No, of course not.
now I'm Mr. Mom again. I'm not trying to. I wasn't a great homemaker. I mean,
And most guys aren't.
but I always had a nice dinner. Mainly, we ate a lot of steak, and I like steak. It's easy for me to cook it. And this is a funny story about Jack. This kid Jack, the one that graduated from West Point, he was maybe 12, 13, and we had to have. My ex-wife insisted on a parenting coordinator, which is someone that instead of going to court, you're supposed to go to this parenting court, and they help you make the decisions. Well, I'm feeding him steak, and I'd put a vegetable out there, whether it's steamed broccoli or something simple. And
potatoes a vegetable.
Yeah. So they're at this parenting coordinator, and Jack is with one of his sisters. So there's 2 of them in there talking to this parenting coordinator, and she's griping about the vegetables. He doesn't give us enough vegetables. And Jack says, yeah, I don't get enough vegetables. Now, what 12, 13-year-old kid is complaining about not getting enough vegetables? A boy especially.
Yeah.
Doesn't exist. And he's just jumping on the bandwagon. I don't get enough vegetables at Dad's house. Now, meanwhile, he's mostly always at my house. But he comes home, and she calls me up, this parenting coordinator, and says, John, Jack's saying he doesn't get enough vegetables. I said, I'll fix that. and all of a sudden, I said, everybody gets a nice steak dinner. Jack gets a pile of vegetables. And he said, where's my steak? I said, I understand you've been complaining about not getting enough vegetables. I want to make sure you get enough vegetables. So that went on for 2 nights, maybe 3. And then he says, Dad, I'm getting plenty of vegetables. I said, I figured you'd say that. And that was the end of it. Never bitched about the vegetables.
That's a great story. Now, you had told me that you're in New York at West Point, which I think a lot of our people in this country don't even know that West Point is in West Point, New York.
Yeah. I think you're right.
Which is crazy because that's where we get Benedict Arnold from, because
Absolutely.
They tried to sell West Point. It's a rainy day. Your girlfriend now is making sure that your head's covered.
Yeah.
And your ex-wife, who is on her 3rd marriage now.
Yeah, she's on her 3rd marriage.
Decides that she wants to help cover your head too.
Yeah, it's a funny story. So it's Mikey Stadium is their football stadium, and that's where they have the ceremony. And it's raining. It's not a good day. But my perspective of the where the speaker was is to my left. So I'm kind of looking this way. And behind me is my daughter, Jamie. Next to her is my ex-wife. And next to me, in front of my ex-wife, is my girlfriend, Shahrazad. So Shahrazad's like, I'm looking this way, and she's fixing my hat because it's raining, and she doesn't want me to get wet, whatever. Well, my ex-wife's also fixing my hat. The 2 of them are fixing my hat.
That had to be a little...
Right. My daughter's wondering what the hell's going on. And anyway, it was a good weekend for my ex-wife. She really did see what was going on and how proud she was of this boy, young man. And I think she fully realized that, and again, I'm not patting myself on the back, but she fully realized he couldn't have done it without.
But you should. It's a major children's accomplishments.
Yeah.
And as most of y'all know, I have a 17-year-old who this podcast is only put together today because of him and his friend Jaden. who are both great kids. And after the fire, this is a battery to the computer that
Unbelievable.
went on fire. Which, by the way, when this is over, you have to check out the first 10 minutes and 23 seconds of the show, which
Jay and I watched probably 20 times, and it was hilarious only because no one got hurt.
it's pretty funny though.
And obviously the investment now, we got to get a new computer.
Yeah, so if you want to be a sponsor of the show, this week would be a great week to become the sponsor of the show as we go and buy a new laptop. So yeah, but no, the accomplishments of your kids are always something that you work hard at.
Yeah.
And I know
and take a lot of pride in it. Of
Take a
course,
lot of pride.
Very proud. This young man of yours, he's a fantastic young man. I just spent a few minutes with him in the car on the way over here from lunch, and he impressed the heck out of me.
We have a friend. Well, you know David quite well.
Adams?
Yes.
Yeah.
David told Ronnie Ronnie and David are pretty close to each other and have been for about 4 years now. And David actually told Ronnie that the hardest point in his life, this is about 3 years ago, was going to be the next 3 years of his life. And said after that, your life's going to be a lot easier. And Ronnie looked at him like he was crazy. He's like, I'm in high school. How's my life going to be better? And David said, because you talk like a man. And schools don't like it when you talk like a man. He said, when you get to college and on, they're going to appreciate that in life. But right now, they're going to not like it because he does. He talks like a grown man. But I've purposely, and I say it on the show all the time, I've purposely taken him with me to work. He sat with me
in adult situations.
Yeah, and he sat with me to people that have lived in campers that were falling apart, the hood, and he's been with me in $1 million houses. And I've purposely taken him with me to guys like yourself and, guys I hang out with that I smoke cigars, because there is something special about the cigar community that a lot of people that aren't part of the cigar community just don't understand. We are a very, very uplifting community. And we do uplift and we do kind of take care of our own too.
Yeah.
There are very few incidences where I've ever seen where a guy that was in need that the community didn't come together and help out. And the way we're talking today is, and a lot of people don't understand this, this is how we talk at the lounge.
Absolutely.
They're
real friendships.
It really is. Because you probably spend 18 to 20 hours a week with the same guys.
Sure.
Smoking cigars
and chatting.
And when we were doing the podcast, it's honestly what I wanted to do was bring the cigar culture to it. But talking about being proud of your kids, I mean, my son's taking college classes this summer.
That's awesome.
Which I'm extremely excited about. Doing very well. And Jaden, his friend, who was trying to fix my work laptop, which is kind of outdated, to do the show, has actually been accepted to he will be accepted to Georgia Tech.
Awesome.
On a full ride is what it looks like.
Is that Atlanta?
Yep. Hey, look, I'm proclaiming it. It's happening. Hey, look, you're going to Georgia Tech one way or another. All right? That's your dream school. That's where you want to go. So whether you get a full ride or we got to figure out how to pay for it, we'll send you to Atlanta.
Just so you know, they're never going to beat FSU.
Well, I think everyone should be happy that colleges only count your core classes and foreign languages, nothing else. Your electives don't matter. This means my
Nor does
college-
your sports team
It's
schedule.
true. So my college GPA is a lot higher than my regular high school GPA.
So I want to just continue with the story. With she was fixing my hat. So she fixed my hat, and my girlfriend would fix my hat. Well, then they throw the caps in the air. Okay, that's the end of the ceremony, and then we go down to the field. Well, this girl, my ex-wife, and we've had a fine weekend. Like I've seen her a few times, and it's all been fine. And then she is overcome with emotion, and she is crying and bawling. I wouldn't say bawling, but she's crying and she's looking for me. And she's got her hands extended, both hands extended, and she wants to grab my hands. And so I, indulge her. And
Yeah, I mean, what are you going to do in that
gentleman.
situation?
Yeah, and so and again, she's the mother of my children. So anyway, she apologizes. I'm so sorry for everything, this, that, and the other. And she really had a sincere apology after 17 years. And this woman really did a number on this family. So it's very hard to forgive her, but it is a story of forgiveness. Now, we're just in the beginning stages of it. It's not like you just flip a switch and everything's perfect.
No, but you have to forgive her.
Absolutely, and I do forgive her. And it just, there is a selfish component that says, hey, I want a better relationship for my family. Not necessarily for me. I don't really have to have a relationship with her or am desiring one. But if it would help my children have a better understanding of forgiveness, a better understanding of overcoming and love and just a lot of the good things of life. I do think that if we could show forgiveness to one another, that all these good things, healing happens within the rest of them.
Which I think is very true. And I'm of the opinion that when possible, you should always take the high road.
Yeah.
And, I don't know your girlfriend that well. I mean, I've met her
Yeah.
a handful
She doesn't
of times,
hang out at the cigar shop.
which a lot of women don't, so I understand. But from what I do know about her, she probably is encouraging you too.
She is. She watched my ex-wife fix the hat. And I mean, and then after that meeting, after that situation where the hat's throw and everything, then we're down in the field and, she's got this 10-minute embrace with me. And then, we're taking pictures and I'm encouraging her to get in the pictures, my ex-wife. And then we're going to lunch. And we weren't planning on including her, but I said, Jack, why don't you ask Mom if she wants to come out to lunch with us? And she agrees, and she comes out to lunch. And Jack and I had to leave the lunch early to go to another pinning ceremony for himself. That's the next step, and they were going to meet us later. And it was
that's when he becomes an official officer, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
But at this lunch is, there's about 8 or 10 of us. But me and Jack had to leave early. And the other ones are other kids of mine and their spouses and whatnot. And so anyway, Jessica's there with my girlfriend's there. And I left with Jack. Well, Shahrazad says to me, my girlfriend, hey, when we were leaving the restaurant, I was the one holding the door as she's going through the door to leave. And she takes a hold of me and gives me a long, warm embrace and gave her an extended hug. So
Wow.
she's trying. I know, and my girlfriend has no issues with Jessica, my ex-wife. So Shahrazad's done a heck of a job. She's basically the best friend to this 21-year-old. Now she's a stepmom. I've been with her for 10 years, so she's not. I'm not married to her, but she's basically a stepmom.
Yeah, she's been there since she was 11.
Yes, been there a long time, and so she. Jamie, my daughter, has gravitated to my house, and she's mostly been with my house. So she and Shahrazad are very good friends, and Shahrazad's a good example. It's funny about divorce. These kids, they have a unique way of figuring things out. Like my ex-wife would do things like have a bag check. So when I say bag check, backpack. So we would rotate on Mondays.
Mm-hmm.
And so on Monday morning, when they're at her house, she would check their backpacks to see what they're bringing to my house. And she would inevitably take items out. That's mine, that's mine, that's mine. Can't bring that to your dad's. So what these girls did, it was mainly the two youngest girls, what they would do is they would bring the items that they wanted at my house on Friday to school. And they would leave it in their locker on Friday. And then on Monday, they'd have a clean backpack for her to check. And then on Monday after school, they'd empty their locker into their backpack and bring it to my house.
No, I understand my ex-wife, and I hate to say anything negative because Ronnie's in the room with me, but she used to make sure that he was dressed in the same exact clothes that he went over there with.
Yeah.
Even though for a lot of the time, my parents
We're buying her
were
clothes.
buying her clothes and my clothes. So it used to drive my mom. Never bothered me, but it used to drive my mom insane.
Oh, yeah. Mine was like, we can't share any items. We're not to share any. I said, well, Josie has a security doll. It was like, a teddy bear or something like that. It was actually a lamb. How is she going to replicate that? She's going to bring that back and forth because that's the item she likes to sleep with. And then Jesse, Jesse,
Mm-hmm.
he was a golf player in high school. Well, I bought him the golf clubs. No problem. I'm happy to buy him the golf clubs. Golf clubs aren't free, man.
They're not.
And golf balls aren't free, and shoes aren't free. It's an expensive sport. Well, we didn't have to buy him another set of golf clubs. Those are allowed to be shared. Good for, you know what I'm saying? It's like, come on, here we are. Let's cooperate, not just when it only benefits you.
Well, what I have found out in my 43 years is that if a woman leaves you for cause, like you beat her, you cheated on her, whatever,
Yeah.
she will find a way to forgive you fairly quickly, and you can have a working relationship with her. When a woman leaves without cause, they will hate you a lot of times till the day.
I don't
they
understand it, but I think you're right.
I don't understand it either. But and what I find is amazingly how many guys actually protect their ex-wives through all of this. They don't speak negative about them. They might laugh around with the boys a little bit, but when it comes to the children, while women do not show us the same respect ever, they will badmouth us at every single instance that they could. Ronnie actually asked my ex-wife why we got divorced, and my ex-wife actually said I cheated on her, which is something I never did. I was accused of a lot of things in court, but that was not one of them. And so I was placed in I can prove to you that I never cheated. And that makes your mother out to be somebody that didn't tell you the truth.
I don't know how you prove that you never cheated.
The only thing I did was I called Brandon, who lived with us at the time, and my mom, who was always around the house. And I let Ronnie speak to both of them. And Brandon's first reaction was, when did you have time to cheat? All we ever did was work. And anybody that knows me knows how I am. I mean, look, I got into it a little bit with a good friend of mine recently because a woman is leaving her husband and he started dating her before they had
Big mistake,
split
man.
up. And I was like, no, you
Big
don't do
mistake.
that. You don't mess around in another man's backyard. Are you telling us the time is?
No, apparently a video has been sent to kids for some reason. That's why there's no comment section. And I don't know why or how.
Oh.
Because I didn't press it to be a good video.
Can we change this?
Yeah, you should be able to in settings.
Forgive me as I am trying to change this. How do I do that in settings, Ronnie?
It should be like a video setting.
Well, come look at the computer and tell me what we're doing wrong.
I was wondering why there was no comment section.
Is it down here? Let's see here. This is Ronnie getting on the screen. Like I said, we have had nothing but problems with this.
Hey, Jaden.
I'm not getting on that camera.
Customization. Let's see here. Details.
Oh,
I don't know. I can't change it.
I think you can't change it while the live is going.
Stupid.
so we'll have to change it after the live. That's fine. At least we'll get a live stream in, and then we'll
You should probably adjust that more downwards.
fix it from there. Like I said, it has been an
A
interesting.
technical nightmare.
It has been. I haven't felt like I've had a calling for a long time since my ex-wife left and I stopped preaching. I really felt like this was the calling that I needed to do. And I think I'm right because we have had nothing but technical difficulties along the way.
Well, I've enjoyed myself, that's for sure.
It is we're definitely going to have you back
Thank you.
when we are not having as much technical difficulties. I don't think we're going to have to worry about a computer catching on fire and blowing up on us again. Thank God. But no, going back to the thing about women now, it sounds to me like I could be wrong, but I know she's on her third husband now. How long has she been married to this dude?
I think only about 6 months. Maybe, yeah, I would say late fall.
Sounds to me, and I could be completely off base on this one. Sounds to me like she might have actually married a decent dude.
I hope so.
That
He's more age appropriate.
yes, and he sounds like he's probably told her that everything wasn't, the way that she made it sound, and is probably the head of his household. And because it is a major shift all of a sudden.
Yeah.
And it's been a recent shift. And the only thing is, she probably married a real man this time.
I hope so. I hope she's happy. I really do. I want the best for her. And I want her to be a great mom. And I want I want a beautiful family. I think the healthier she is, the better it is for my children. Our children, hers and mine. And I love being a father, and my kids are all adults now. Like I said, my youngest one is 21, but what's interesting is, and my mom, Ray Mader, she's 94. I've always struggled. I wouldn't say struggled, but as I'm a grown ass man, I don't have that much in common with her. So she's very close to her daughters, which are in their 70s. And I talk to my mom once a week or so, and I go see her. She lives in Hilton Head, South Carolina. So I do go see her. And I love her to death. She was a fantastic mother. So my point is, as these kids become adults, especially the young men, I've evolved as a dad. These are now my buddies. Now, yes, I am their father. And so I'm not going to tolerate, I don't want to hear your war stories about, I went out and got drunk or what. I really don't want to hear those war stories. Now, when I'm with a buddy, like you, for example, you want to tell me a war story, that we can laugh and have fun. I don't really want to hear that from my adult children.
No, of course not, because you're always going to be dad.
Yeah.
You're always going to guide them, and you're a friend that's making a mistake. You'll tell them, and then you'll live with whatever mistake they make. As a parent, sometimes even as adult kids, it seems like you just want to shake them and be like, "Hey, stupid.
Yeah.
This is the path you're going on."
Or, I'm very proud of you for making that tough decision.
Yeah, of course.
So, I've gotten very close to Jesse. I've always been close with, and you know Jesse.
No, Jesse. Yeah.
Jesse's done well for himself.
You raised a really good young man in Jesse.
Thank you. And I talk to him pretty much every day. I talk to my son Jordan every day. Maybe not every day, but 4 or 5 days a week. And we make plans to visit one another. They're out in California, but they were out at West Point witnessing their brother graduate. And I'm going to see him again very soon. And the transition from raising kids to kind of enjoying them as buddies in adulthood, and just still showing a good example and being there for them, to bounce ideas off of, whatever the case is. I've thoroughly enjoyed the transition. And with my daughter that's 21, I've witnessed her and participated in her growth to this point, and it's a pleasure. The transition becomes, I guess, if they don't turn out well, because I do have one that doesn't talk to me. The oldest son doesn't talk to me. And what did I do? I mean, I was a tough dad on him. He was my first child, my first boy also. That one's sad. But these other ones, there's tremendous joy in raising a family, raising kids, and becoming friends with them as they're adults. It's really been a very nice transition.
But you don't know what the oldest one got fed.
No, you don't know. You just don't know.
And he's what, 29
No,
now?
he's 39.
30.
He was born in 89. So
okay.
He's 37.
Yep. So, well, he's old enough now, to know what's going on. So I don't know.
I don't know either. He drinks too much. I know that. And you didn't learn it from me. I hardly ever drink.
But, a lot of guys fall into that. I know I did.
I love him to death. I hope nothing for the best, but the best for him. And I hope he comes around and wants to restart a relationship, because I love him to death. It's painful, but there's really nothing I can do.
No, I get it. It's tough. I mean, I haven't been there with it. I've had my son 50-50 since he was for the last 16 years.
Forever.
So that's kind of all Ronnie has ever known.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, because I wanted a big family, but wasn't able to do it. And now I'm sitting at 43, and I'm like, I don't know if I want any more kids at 43.
Abraham had some at like 90.
Yes, Abraham had some when he was 100, but I'm not Abraham.
Look at John Salmasi, my birth father. He had a daughter at 60.
Yeah, no, and I think he's a prime example on why I don't want any more kids. I mean, he's dead now, and his daughter's only 24.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, have you set up a time to go see her?
I haven't. I was my dad, Tom Maters, his sister's still alive. She's turning 90 at the end of June, and she lives in Milwaukee, and they're having a party for her. So I was considering going to that party, and of course I'm invited, and then trying to meet up with both of them separately, of course, Greg Finch and Gina Salmasi. So I'd like to do that. If it's not this time, it'll be before the end of the year.
No, and I think you should, and I think you should take at least one daughter, if not as many that want to go with you.
Yeah.
I've seen your truck when it's out of the shop. You can easily fit a good bit of your family in it, and just go up and see them. I think that it sounds to me like Gina is really wanting a family.
Gina is delightful. Absolutely, absolutely delightful, and a sweet young lady. And yeah, she was pretty surprised. I mean, very surprised. And I've asked her twice now if she's told her mother about this, and she says she hasn't figured out how to tell her mother. Now, her mother is John's wife, widow,
yes.
whatever. So I kind of feel like she should probably tell her mother before she meets with me.
Because I got to be honest, if I'm now, mind you, I'm looking at it from a dad's point of view. But if I was married to a woman and had a kid by the woman, and then I find out years after he's passed away that he's got another kid out there, I think I'd want to meet the kid.
I do too. I would want to meet the child as well, meet the person. They were not married. There was no infidelity going on. They didn't.
Yeah.
They got married later in life. John, Selma C, and I think her name is Sarah. So she has, there's nothing. He wasn't unfaithful to her to have,
Yeah, no, of course.
So the other thing was this: Gina did, before she took the DNA test with Ancestry, she did bring. She told me she brought it up to her mother in a very vanilla way by saying something like, "Do you know if Dad had any relationships before you, or anything unusual?" And according to Gina, Sarah wasn't any help. She said no, or just didn't seem to know anything. She was hoping that
your dad had told her.
Right.
Which is, but then again, I mean, by the time they met, you were probably well grown.
Well, 34 years older than Gina.
Yeah. So by the time they meet, he's probably put out the fact that you even existed out of his mind.
I don't know if you can do that.
I don't know either. But then again, I don't think I could put a child up for adoption.
Right. So
I get the mother's situation, but the father,
he's a young guy. Here's his story. So he's 25, and he's an immigrant from Iran. He I think I said he immigrated. The guy was born in Tehran. It's just amazing that I'm with a girl from Iran as well. It's flabbergasting. But anyway, so he probably, he's an immigrant, came here in late 50s or early 60s. Let's just say 1960. Well, I was born in 67. So he's been here 7-8 years, whatever it's been. Probably doesn't know the language perfectly.
That's true.
Doesn't have the opportunity yet that you and I have, being born and raised here.
Mm-hmm.
Understanding the system, like you understand the system perfectly. I understand the system perfectly. Maybe we don't maybe perform in the system perfectly, but we certainly understand the system.
Oh, absolutely.
Well, I can tell you, Shahrazad, my girlfriend, she's been here 14 years. I had to help her get car insurance. She was getting ripped off. I had to help her get health. She didn't even have health insurance. I had to help her get health insurance. She didn't know how to file tax returns. She didn't understand that. I mean, they don't have the same. Yes, they have the same opportunity, but they don't know the system. So he's saying to himself, what in the world am I going to do with a baby? I can hardly take care of myself.
No, I get that.
It'd be difficult to do, John.
Jay,
it'd be very difficult to do.
It would be completely difficult, and I put myself in his shoes, and I don't know if I could do it or not. But then again, I'm looking at it from my point of view in 2026. And, we go back to the 60s, and you're young at the time. So I know that a Catholic orphanage, chances are you're going to get adopted. That's what people don't understand about adoptions in this country is if you are put up for adoption as a baby, You
The
have
system
a
works, man.
99.99% chance of getting adopted. Ronnie's got his hand up.
No,
Yes.
I'm giving you the numbers until it's been 2 hours, 5 minutes.
Oh, okay. So we're going to take a short break. This is a perfect time if you want to sponsor the show. It has been a great time so far. John, I appreciate you being patient through all of our technical difficulties. John actually had truck trouble coming up here. And brand new truck. Looks like the alternator's going out in it. We have destroyed a laptop. I keep holding up the battery, but if you want to see, there's the there's the hole in the laptop. So
And the producer was the person right beside it when it blew up.
and Ronnie says that he was producer. So yeah, no, it has been a
It was like a firebomb.
it has been a firebomb. He is correct. We are gonna take a short break. Once again, if you haven't checked out Greg's book, who is normally with us,
Excellent book.
and circumstances, caused him where he couldn't, go to Amazon, pick up a copy, leave us a comment.
What's the name of the book?
Name
again?
of
I
the
have
book is Father to Father, Brother to Brother. And also, if you haven't checked out ConnorsCorner.org, you need to. Sam does a lot of work in the community. It's really, really cool. But we're going to take a short break and we'll come right back. Ronnie, phone. Okay, I am back with John Mader. We are talking all things from adoption to divorce to overcoming obstacles in your way to
Being great fathers.
being great fathers. And our podcaster today should just at this point pull up a chair because he keeps trying to talk to us. Go ahead.
I have a question.
All right.
So I know you're really big into history. Can you talk about your favorite historical events or something?
Well, lately, Ronnie asked about my favorite historical events, and lately I've been enamored with the history of America and how West Point played such a role in it, because obviously we've been telling you about my son graduating from West Point. Well, over the last 5 years, I've been able to spend. I went up there about 8 times in 5 years to visit him.
I've never been, but I hear it is an absolutely beautiful.
It's beautiful. It's right on the Hudson, and they've got a kind of an area they call the $1 Million View, and it's loaded. It's just loaded with history. And I took Sturman there, Mike Sturman,
Okay.
and he wanted to go. And so in the fall, I think it was just this past fall, him and I went up there for a weekend. And Mike is a history buff, and we smoked a lot of cigars, and it's had a lot of fun walking around and doing the tours and just seeing the sights. And there's just, when you go there, there's just a nostalgic feeling that comes over you, and this is my country, and
Yeah.
this is the greatest country that the world has ever known.
No, I agree with you. And you know, I say this a lot, and it's one of the reasons why I wanted to do the podcast. Because if we're gonna save America, it starts with one father at a time.
I agree.
And I have no country to go back to. You are first generation on your dad, and what, first or second generation on your mother.
I don't know. I haven't figured that one out yet.
But my family has actually been over here. The last relative that I actually have in my direct line that arrived here was like 1750. So I have no roots anywhere else. Like this is
home, man.
this is home. You know, this is where my messed up DNA formed, and
The melting pot.
it really is. And little history thing about, because you know I'm a bit of a history buff myself. I love it. And the battle for New York is such an interesting story that people don't even get to. Washington was actually bogged down near West Point and looked like he was going to get captured by General Clinton or Colonel Clinton or whatever he was.
Good dinner.
And a freak blizzard hit. Washington ties his men together like with ropes, and they march around him in blinding weather
So not to get captured.
and escapes. Clinton bogs him down again before he's able to leave New York. And the same thing happens. And he escapes New York twice by freak storms.
That's God's hand.
That is complete God's hand. There is a story, and it has been pretty well documented, that Washington at Valley Forge goes out into the woods to pray. A lot of our founding fathers were praying men.
Sure.
It's
Very
funny. I watched a CNN reporter talk about how crazy it is that somebody would believe that our rights come from God and not the government. And I'm like, most of our founding fathers
We're strong believers.
believed that it was inalienable rights handed down by a creator.
Some of them.
And Washington goes out in the woods, says he meets with, some people say he met with an angel, some people says he met with an alien, whatever. But he meets with this being that had Washington so enamored that when he came back, he was almost a completely different person. Like he knew at that point that he would win the war. Yes, Ronnie.
Was that the creature that they say showed him a map, and when like water or a teardrop or something fell on it, it showed like all 50 states of the modern USA?
There are people that claim that.
Like in Ancient Aliens, I think they
Like
talk about
Ancient
that.
Aliens talks about it. I personally think that God sent him down because if you don't have the American Revolution, you don't have a lot of evils that have been taken out of the world. You know, people like to talk about Thomas Jefferson, and yeah, okay, was Thomas Jefferson perfect? By no means was he. But when what's his name? Newton is arguing on the floor of the in England.
Oh, the guy who wrote Amazing
He
Grace.
yes,
What is
the
it,
guy
the
that
House of
wrote
Commons
Amazing
or something?
Grace. When he is arguing that slavery needs to be ended. And this was a guy who was sold into slavery at an early age. He was sold to the King of Barbados. Slavery was all he had ever known his entire life.
Didn't he run a slave ship?
Yes, he ran a slave ship, Ronnie. This is all he had ever known his entire life. And he is parked in Boston. He hears a preacher talking. And he walks away from it all and makes his lifelong journey to end slavery. He uses Thomas Jefferson's words.
And Thomas Jefferson had a lot of slaves.
Thomas Jefferson had slaves.
He had kids with slaves, right?
No, that was his brother.
It's questionable whether it was him or it was his brother.
His brother.
But when most people don't even understand this, but the first 3 Declaration of Independence that were drafted ended slavery in this country. But Georgia and South Carolina would not sign it if it ended slavery. None of our founding fathers thought slavery would exist in this country past 1820. None of them. In fact, if it wasn't for the Cotton Gin and Eli Whitney, there would have been no slavery that had lasted that long. But he goes back to England and he lives 1 month past the day that an orphan kid that he had raised gets England to end the North Atlantic slave trade.
Unbelievable.
I mean, it brings tears in my eyes to talk about it. And when Frederick Douglass gives his famous 4th of July speech, he quotes Thomas Jefferson. When Martin Luther King...
All men are created equal. That's the speech we're talking about.
Yep. When Martin Luther King gives the rain check, where he talks about how America has promised something that has not been yet delivered upon, he quotes Thomas Jefferson. So when all these people want to attack the man of the past, and don't get me wrong, they were, you had flawed men.
Yeah, it was divided. I mean, they were conflicted men.
They were very conflicted men, as most men are.
Yeah.
But you can't have, if you go throughout the Bible's one of the rare books that give you the flaws of the great men. Most historical documents like the Bible go into great lengths to make man out to be greater than they are. The Bible doesn't do that. The Bible gives you their flaws and says that these flawed men did great things. And when you're talking about America as the way it is, yes, were they flawed? But it was also a
They're
system. Still great men. And there was a system that everybody had since the founding of the world. And so they were questioning a question that very few people in any prominent position had ever questioned: whether men were meant to be free or not. And anyway, I can go on and on about history. That's kind of my forte. I love it. But so you're at West Point. You've had a chance to go there a few times.
Yeah, you're overcome with the pride of America, and it's just a place that is just such a special place for history and pride of America. And like Shahrazad, my girlfriend, when she was there this past weekend, 23rd of May, she was overcome with it, and she's a U.S. citizen, but she doesn't fully understand, when you're from Persian background, Iran. I mean, these are countries that I know Iran might only be 50 or 100 years old, however it is, but that area, the Persian Empire, isn't that 3,000-4,000 years old?
Yeah, I mean,
that was before Christ.
No, it dates back to the Medes in Persia.
So that's a long time ago.
Yeah.
And so we're riding around in the garrison there, and there's just you're just overcome with pride, man. It's an amazing feeling. And these are people that went there, and people that contributed to West Point. You're talking about Grant. You're talking about Eisenhower. You're talking about MacArthur. Some of the top leaders that America's ever known.
Yeah.
Have a history at West Point, and it's displayed there. So Ronnie asked, my favorite history part or interesting history lately in the last number of years, because my son's gone there. I've gotten appreciation for more American history, and now we're celebrating 250 years.
Yes.
Which is very exciting.
When your son decides that he wants to go to West Point, that's a big decision. But seeing him march in that formation on that parade ground,
it's the pride. The pride is just overwhelming.
I mean, you had to know before then, but at that moment, you had to know that John Mader, did a good job raising him.
I definitely have a lot of pride, and I do feel good about what he's accomplished and how I've helped him. But make no mistake, Jay, he did it.
Yeah, of course.
He had to endure. As far as there's no guarantees just because you get in that you graduate. I think they into his class they admitted 1,250 people and just under 1,000 graduated. So there's some attrition, and his grades weren't great. He got into a little bit of trouble, nothing major, but he had to do the walking, and so he's wondering if he's going to graduate. I mean, he's determined, and he's got a hell of a story, man. He's got a hell of a story of overcoming, and that's really his story, is overcoming. So I can pat myself on the back a little bit, but he did it, and I supported him. I was the biggest supporter. And I know I was his biggest supporter. I mean, he had some great buddies, and he has some great buddies. But, man, when you have the support of your dad, I remember when my dad, good job, John. Good, I'm proud of you, John. Those words mean something
It
to
really
a youngster.
does. It really does. I mean, I remember when, yes, Robert E. Lee went to West Point, man. When I had walked my life back and it was a long walk back, once you lose somebody's trust, it takes a while to gain it back.
It sure does.
But I'll never forget my dad telling me he was proud of me after all that, and that took a lot. That was one of those moments where I'm just like, I didn't bawl in front of him, but when I got to my car, I'm just bawling my eyes out. So I can just imagine going through that and seeing as a father him going through everything that he had overcome. And I mean, West Point's one of those things where, I mean, we had Hugh Johnson on here a couple of weeks ago, and he made the comment that retired military people have an edge up on most people. And West Point is just, I mean, it's one of those things where, you graduate from West Point,
you've got a future.
Yeah, you can write your own ticket in many different fields. So, I mean, you have a lot to be proud of.
I do, and I'm proud of all my kids. So we've spent quite a bit of time talking about Jack and Jesse. We've spoke about Jesse, and Jesse's killing it. He moved out to California with very little, and he's accomplished a lot. Jordan, my second oldest son, lives out there too, and he's like 30. I think he's 34 or 35. He's born in 91, and he is over about 300 people at a assisted living facility, basically a nursing home, and he's done well. I'm very proud of all my kids.
Well, let's talk about all of them. So we talked about the three boys.
Yeah, there's one more boy, the oldest one, and I think I told you about him. I don't really have a relationship. It's his choice. I'd love to have a relationship with him. He's got Moses, which is my oldest grandchild, and his the mother of the child had always been kind to me, but I think it was causing problems with her and my oldest son by allowing me to see and hang out with Moses. So that hasn't happened. That's a sad part of my life right now. I think I have something to offer the child.
Of course. I think you do too.
Yeah, but they won't allow it. And so be it. There's really little I can do. So those are my 4 boys, and then I've got 4 girls. Jamie's the youngest, and I largely raised her. She still lives with me. And then I've got a daughter, Jillian, who she goes to FSU. She's 23. She's doing nicely. We have a Disney trip planned coming up in late June. And then Josie is another one of my daughters. She's a single 27, 28-year-old, beautiful, absolutely stunningly gorgeous girl.
No, I've seen all of your daughters.
Yeah.
And y'all mixed extremely well.
Yeah, I have beautiful kids. And then my oldest daughter is Jenna. She's married to he's a sheriff in town here in Tallahassee, and they have 2 children. So that's the group. And Sharzad is my partner, and we don't have any kids together. She never had kids. She was married once, and to a guy in Iran. And this interesting story about this guy. He was driving a car in Iran, crashed the car. God bless this guy. 3 passengers in his car perished in this accident.
Oh, wow.
He ends up having to go to jail. I don't know if he was impaired. I really don't know all the details, but he spent a year in jail while they were married, and that kind of fizzled out the marriage. And so then she came to America after she got a divorce there, and then came to America and has never looked back. She's been back and forth a few times, but she can't go back,
Right now, definitely. And how is how's her family doing over there?
Well, they're desperate to be in America. Her sister is extremely desperate. Sister has 2 children with a nice guy. Her mom and dad are in their mid-60s, and we've been trying to get her parents here. Her mom and dad got as far as a interview at a embassy in Abu Dhabi, which is the capital of the AEU. And UAE. Sorry.
Yeah, I mentioned that.
And that was in early January, mid or early January, and unfortunately, Trump banned these family reunification visas for like 38 countries, and Iran is one of them. So they didn't get their visa. It's a very tough topic because I do like Trump. I think Trump's done a great job, and this has been difficult for me because Trump made this ban.
No, and I get it, and I take a little bit different stance on Trump, but that's the great thing about a cigar culture and America is we don't have to completely agree on things.
No matter what, the alternative was not good.
I won't disagree with you there. But so what's the next step, or are they
the next step for her folks? We've got to get new interviews, but there's really very little chance for them if you got another interview right soon that they get the visa anyway. So the next step is, hopefully Trump will change his mind.
So you're basically just waiting out the war.
Waiting out. I don't know if it's just the war. I'm just not certain what the ban is all about for family reunification. He's worried about these extreme Muslims coming in and causing trouble here.
Yeah, which I can understand that.
Yeah.
But in your case, they're Catholic, aren't they?
No. So the Catholics are the Assyrians over there.
Okay.
So her parents are they don't consider themselves Muslim, but I mean that's in essence everyone's a Muslim over there. And
well, it's kind of crazy when you look at Iran. their government is extremely extreme.
Yeah.
And no one will argue that they're not. But the average Iranian is not.
Mm-mm. Well, so her dad considers himself Zatarianism is the name of the faith. Have you ever heard of Zatarianism? I could be pronouncing it wrong.
Ronnie, is it pronounced? I know you've studied that.
Zatarianism?
It's either pronounced like that or Zatorian. I don't know.
Yeah. So
To be honest.
that faith is an old faith.
Yeah, that's the original faith of
Yeah.
of Iran and
Yeah.
the Aryan people, because Iran actually considered themselves the actual Aryans, which is where the name Aryan comes from.
Well, her dad considers himself this. It's become kind of a pulp culture, pop culture, whatever it is, a way of thinking over there. And I actually, I'm Catholic, but I wear this guy. This is called a Farbahar. Have you ever heard of Farbahar? A Farbahar guy, Ronnie? Farbahar.
I don't know.
Okay, well, this guy can you see the picture of him? He's an ancient looking guy.
I can.
Okay, but anyway, it stands for good thoughts, good words, and good deeds.
Okay.
And that's the tenet of the faith of Zatarianism.
Okay.
Again, I don't consider myself Zatarianism. I just like the guy, and I like good thoughts, good words, good deeds. I think that's a good way to live. So
no, I agree with you.
So Muslim, they don't consider themselves Muslim, but really everyone over there is Muslim. He eats ribs. I mean,
No, I know. I have had the privilege of having dinner with probably about 12 people from Iran. In fact, craziness, I'm at a used car dealership working, and this guy from Iran is looking to buy a car. And, well, he doesn't have an American driver's license at the time. He just has his Iranian driver's license.
Yeah, which you can't read.
No, I cannot. I cannot read Farsi. And so we're sitting there talking, and he's talking about how his family's back there. He's working at Florida State, and he's trying to bring him back. And he's like a doctor or something at Florida State. And we actually ended up going to dinner together. And
nice,
very,
people.
very nice guy. In fact, most of the people that I have met, actually, no, that's not true. All the people I have met that have been from Iran, that was born there, have been some of the nicest people I have ever met. But then again, I've had that experience with most of the Middle East. I've had pleasures of hanging out with a lot of people from the Middle East. Now, I get what the Crown Prince of UAE said when he said the problem with letting Muslims into America is that they know the difference between extremism and non-extremism, and the West doesn't. But most of them I have ever been in contact with have always been just normal, great people wanting the same thing out of life,
a good life
that we all do. And as a guy that's in sales, I kind of appreciate the Middle Eastern ability to negotiate. I love that part about them. I mean, they'll negotiate anything. So, I'm kind of at a split with the immigration thing, because at one point you got to know who's in your country.
Absolutely.
And no one on any side should ever argue that. But at the same time, good immigration helps a country.
Mm-hmm.
Bad immigration hurts a country. And so, but yeah, no, I'm with you. No, it's interesting when you get into those things, because there is that fine line between, who should and who should not.
Well, the thing that frustrates me is, obviously he's married to Melania Trump, and she brought her parents here on family reunification visas.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, one bad apple bringing in the wrong person ruins it for everybody. I guess it's
Yeah,
hard.
and I don't think it should. I do think. I think part of the problem has been with the birthright citizenship is you come and you have a baby here.
Yeah, you're automatically a citizen. That's
And-
kind of garbage now, because so many people, rich people, can fly here and have a baby, and now, I guess they can get reunified with their parents then, and the parents can become citizens through the child. I don't fully understand how it works, but that's how it sounds.
So our
like.
producer today likes to talk. I've long since said he should just pull up a chair at this point. But what's up, Ronnie?
I have a question. Why do the parents become citizens instead of just the kids becoming citizens? Because I think legally, if someone crosses the border illegally and has a kid, shouldn't only the kid become a citizen?
Well, that's
And
only
supposed to
that
be
technically happens as a kid becomes a citizen. Now, if we have somebody that gets in this that knows a lot more about immigration than I do, so feel free to enlighten us. I am not an immigration attorney by any means of the imagination.
It's extremely complicated.
It is, but from my understanding is if you have a kid here, you can file to become a permanent resident and work your way into citizenship. So I think that works, but I am not.
Well, like I said, Shahrazad is a U.S. citizen. She turned a diversity lottery visa into citizenship. So technically, it's family reunification. Even though she wasn't born here, she was naturalized. So if you're born here, I think it's the same thing as being naturalized. You can apply to have your parents
Yes.
be reunified with you.
Which is, and I'm with you on the fact that you said, what frustrates you is that, Trump's wife used that.
Yeah.
And now he's wanting to end it. And I don't know where I fall on that one politically, honestly, because I see good things and bad things with it. So I don't know, man. I'm kind of split on that.
Typically, with the reunification, it's going to be parents that are older. And if you're bringing your parents, and I am just using logic here, so I'm not 100% certain, but I would think that bringing an older person in here, like I told you, her parents are in their mid 60s. How much trouble are they going to cause? These are mature people that, if they're radicals, then no. I don't know how you figure out if they're radicals.
I don't know either,
But-
and I guess that's where we have the problem is.
How you figure out?
How do you figure it out? I don't know. I mean, I don't know, man. There are times when I wake up and I'm glad I'm not in charge of anything like that,
They're big decisions.
because I don't know how you would do it. I really don't. I don't know. I mean, that's just.
Her parents are salt of the earth type people in Iran. That her dad's a tow truck driver. So he's a tow truck driver. We need tow truck drivers here.
We do, absolutely, and we want salt of the earth people.
Yeah,
we really do. We want salt of the earth, hardworking people. So, like I said, I don't know how you distinguish from all that.
How you figure it out? Yeah,
I don't.
It's difficult, man.
I don't know. So
the immigration problem in America is the pendulum has swung. So under Biden, it seemed like they were letting any Tom, Dick, or Harry just come in illegally and flood the border, and that whole mess we're still dealing with the consequences of it.
Yes.
Now Trump has got that down to zero, and we're not letting people that maybe would be good U.S. citizens, not letting those people in.
Yeah.
When they had a legal path, which now has been closed.
yeah, and and looking at it, I don't like illegal immigration.
No,
I don't, because as a country, we have a right to know who's in our country at all times. When somebody wants to argue illegal immigration with me, the first thing I ask them is America a sovereign country or not? And it's funny how many people want to sidestep that question.
The
when I
basic
ask them.
fundamental question.
Because if they answer yes,
Then we shouldn't have illegal immigration.
then we have a right to protect our borders. And that kind of throws out that entire debate really fast. But at the same time, I like immigration. I like the fact that we can have a really good country meal for lunch. I can eat Chinese food for dinner. I can eat Italian food the next day. I hear there's even a German place that opened up in Tallahassee that I'm dying to try.
I love German food.
Of course, after spending $700 on a laptop, it might be a couple of weeks before I make it there. So yeah, no, I'm with you. It's a tough situation, and I feel for your girlfriend.
She's having a very tough time. She does support Trump. However, she's upset. Now, bombing Iran and all the war effort that's going on, Trump got into a lot of heat for saying, hey, we're going to bomb the hell out of them. We're going to destroy the civilization. Well, if you really look at the definition of civilization, the people of Iran, I'm not speaking for the people of Iran, but I can tell you that the people I know in Iran, they'd rather have their civilization as they know it destroyed and start over with a new government than have what they have. They don't want what they have.
No, and I think Iran is the perfect example of there are two Irans.
Yeah.
There is and I've said this about America. There's two Americas. And you have the American people, which are the most generous people God has ever made on the face of the earth. There's not one atrocity that has ever happened since we've been a country that we haven't banded together any part of the world and decided, hey, let's help them, And then there's the American government that I think eventually, and I think it's coming to a forefront now, where the people, where you have two different countries, and I think that Iran's like that. I think America's like that, where you have the American people, then you have the American government. And the American government is not good like the people. And I think there's a lot that needs to be fixed. And I was hoping that Trump was going to be that guy. I'm not so sure now, but who knows? Maybe I'm completely wrong and he does have a plan and maybe it'll work out. What do I know?
It's not so easy.
They're not going to let me anywhere close to the presidency in my entire life, so I don't have to worry about that. Ronnie, you can't do that. We're mic'd up.
Oh, sorry.
That noise you were hearing was Ronnie bumping his boot up against the chair.
Oh, I want to apologize for that loud sound earlier. I saw a spider and I have arachnophobia.
Yeah, so my 17-year-old brave son got scared to death over a spider and almost fell out of his chair. It was quite funny.
But not a fire, so.
He's had quite the day.
He did quite well with the fire.
Yeah, he remained calm.
The spider, on the other hand, he ran like
Panicked.
a little woman out of the seat. It was kind of funny.
Arachnophobia.
But I tell you what, John, I've kept you here a lot longer than we had planned.
Yeah, I've enjoyed every minute of it.
We will definitely have to have you back.
I enjoyed it.
Let us fix the computers this week, and we'll have you back very shortly.
You've been a fantastic host. And Ronnie has been outstanding, and his buddy Jalen. You guys are great.
Oh,
But-
my friend who's watching the stream live wants to know if Nirvana would be considered stoner music.
No,
Okay.
I'm not a stoner, and I like Nirvana.
So
So
there
no.
you go.
But I wonder where that came from.
I don't know. It's
So,
just a question.
I can tell you this, Jay. You've been a great host. You've been extremely accommodating, and thank you so much for having me.
John, it's been my pleasure. I look forward to having you back. And hopefully the next time we do this, we will not have a
Meltdown.
But I tell you what, if you haven't watched the 10 minutes and 23 seconds of
Our first try.
our first try at this,
It's kind of like a backstory, you know.
you're missing out. It was quite comical.
Well, it was the last few seconds are what would.
Hilarious.
But you would benefit from their audience would benefit from the first 10 minutes of our chat as well. So
it's craziness. I do appreciate everybody that has tuned in and watched this. John, thank you so much for coming on. Sorry we ran about an hour and 12 minutes longer than we were supposed to.
You
But
could say I ran out of time.
yes,
we got a comic over here too.
we ran out of time. I ran out of time. Yes.
The situation is real.
Yes.
He's got a future. Make no mistake of it.
He does. I agree completely. But I will try to post all these videos where they need to be. I thought we'd gotten past that, but you know, it is what it is. But John, thank you so much
Thanks
for
again,
coming,
Jim.
man. It has been an absolute pleasure. Ronnie, if you want to get the cell phone, I will end this stream here, and then
I guess we're
That was
rushing to
fun.
the end.